Catch you in a bit.
That's pretty good. Closer. Oh, you immediately. Tad is not here. Doesn't look like it.
He's at Longest. See us. We're going to say.
First, we're good to see everybody, and thanks everybody for coming. Welcome to our team presentation for Corvette team for the bash. So there we go. We got two excellent hosts here. We got Josh Holder. Chief engineer, and myself, Corvette product manager. We're coming up on 70 years of Corvette and 8 generations, and with the new Z06. Has everybody been out and looking at the cars outside? Awesome. So it's one thing we always like to talk about and never get tired of talking about. A Corvette, since the 8th generation came out for 2020, you know, we won basically all the awards that there were to win, I think. We basically won all of them. People said, "What's your awards to win?" All of them. We got 3 years in a row, Car and Driver 10 Best. And also, Editor's Choice Sports Car for Car and Driver. Superior performance, daily drivable, luxury cabin, and everything like that. So that's another good award. And then here's one near and dear to our heart, Best Resale Value Award for 2022. It's tough to lose when they're worth more used than they are new. So I know what you guys are doing. No, it's a great award. You know, beating Audi, Porsche, you know, the whole segment. And you know, even from the mainstream media, U.S. News and World Report ranked the Corvette as the best luxury sports car for 2022. That's a good one. And this one we're really proud of. JD Power Quality Double Win, both in initial quality and appeal. So that's basically the fewest things gone wrong and the best things gone right. That's very hard to win both of those. And we beat in our category, you know, Mercedes, BMW, Audi, Porsche, Lexus. Those guys aren't playing either, so we're happy to win that.
Appeal is spelled wrong, is that what you're saying? We're engineers, not spelling it.
If we spell it, what does that mean if we spell the quality award wrong? This one is really cool too. Japan Car of the Year for 21 and 22. To have our American sports car win the Car of the Year. It's not American Car of the Year in Japan, it's the whole Car of the Year for Japan. You know, we have right-hand drive available there, and it's really, Corvette has taken the world by storm, not just in the US. So, we got some data here. I know it's a little hard to see, but I'll just show some highlights. You know, our Wendy Miller and our team, a lot of you know her. She does a great job of keeping track of all our numbers. One of the things I want to point out, you know, for left here, coupe and convertible, you know, it's almost half convertibles now. The last time that happened was 1968. So going to this hardtop convertible configuration, you know, which gives you the benefits of the coupe and the benefits of the convertible, and take the long trips with your storage space, and it looks great top up and down. Everybody's really gravitating towards that, or half of everybody. So, but it's a great choice. On chassis, you know, the Z51 magnetic ride, most popular. A lot of people opting for brake colors. Some other highlights on here. Wheels, the carbon flash wheel does really well. GT2 seat is the most popular seat. Front lift, almost 60%. So a lot of, this really helps us see what things are doing well. And then colors, we all love to talk about colors. torch red has been, it's really usually torch red, Arctic white, and black have usually been the top three in different orders. But now we have the new red mist and the hypersonic gray colors really doing well. Those are big hits, those two. Really, those are really selling very well also. Interior-wise, of course, black is always the most popular. Adrenaline red does really well. And then seatbelts. You see about, over a third of everybody is getting color seatbelt, which is a fun option. And then, if you guys want to talk about this later, I just want to show, we even can keep track of color combos, like, you can look up and find somebody, 2 people got Accelerate with Morello Red. Not my first choice, but 2 people love it, so I hope any of those 2 in here. No, hey, it's great, but it's good to get something rare. But it's interesting to see. We keep track of, you can keep track of all the different color combinations, and then even on the exterior colors, it's interesting to see certain colors sell better as coupes, and certain ones are more popular as convertibles, which is interesting as well. Just some fun stuff there. And then this is something that I'm very proud of. I want to thank all of you, everybody here who buys Corvettes. We have actually 51% market share in the luxury sports segment. That means more people are buying Corvettes than everybody else put together. There's us and everybody else. And which is really amazing. I don't think I've seen it that high, and even considering, obviously, it's a tough time. We wish we could have built more Corvettes. We know a lot of people are waiting for them, but even with that, we thought that we would really, what do we call it? We'd shock the market, shock the world with this car, and we really have. And racing, back-to-back, Gtlm manufacturers champions, drivers champions, with the new C8R in its first 2 years running. And we're very proud of that. And then we did the IMSA Gtlm Championship C8R edition. Anybody here have one of those? It's some back there. It's a great car, limited to 1,000. You can see, I just put some numbers here. A little bit actually more in favor of convertible than coupe, and about 2/3 went for the number 4 gray versus the number 3 yellow. And then just a little bit about racing. We're in a new class this year in North America, in the IMSA class. But we really have to do that because every time we win, all the competitors leave and we have to start over. So we'll just keep going. We'll just keep finding new cars to beat. And here's our next victims up here. We had a great win at Sebring, a good podium finish at Long Beach. We're actually leading. Tad Shombi, sorry he can't be, he's out at Laguna Seca. That's the race he goes to. We're dividing the team up. He's representing us out there, and hopefully he brings us home a win. And just to see the schedule here. So the interesting thing too, in order to participate at Le Mans, we have to run, on the right-hand side of the screen, is the WEC class, which is the more international series. And so that car is really actually closer to the car we've been traditionally running. And so we've sent the number 4 car, or 64 in this case, over to run that series. And then the yellow car is running the IMSA series. And in certain races we had both, like Daytona we've had both, Le Mans we're going to have both cars. So we're kind of dividing and conquering 2 different series this year. And we had a pretty respectful second place at Sebring. So actually Sebring had both classes in different races this year. Let's crank up the volume on this one.
We respect our past, but we are always moving forward. Real Lumix. This is what I'm gonna be in right here.
And the price of the drive on the right.
The highest horsepower naturally has to be able to power like this.
Our goal is to capture that thrill of the drive.
So I think a lot of you probably seen this, and you're going to see the long video too. There's a longer one. So go to that Chevy.com/Z06 if you haven't seen it. But I wanted to tell you guys there's a whole new list of Z06 Academy videos coming out. They're just getting released. That gets into all the details on the new Z06. So make sure you check those out on our website. And two people you might have noticed in this. And I read the forums. People are like, who are these people? Who are these people right there? So I thought I just explain. Again, we really with this new Corvette, we're capturing not only our loyal Corvette customers like yourselves, but we're really going to capture a whole new audience with this car. And some of the people that were included, so Amelia Hartford. She's well known as an automotive tuner and actually. Set Guinness World Record for tuning, but she has 1 million followers and actually 70 million views online, and really good at tracking. And then Devin Booker, who plays for the Phoenix Suns, his dad was into Corvettes, and he passed that on to him, and he kind of hurt a little bit right now. We can see him back in the playoffs, gold medalist for the U.S. Olympic hockey team. Basketball team. Basketball. Oh yeah, the round ball is basketball. So anyway, that U.S. basketball team, and great fan of Corvette also. And so again, these having them included with the people you probably are used to seeing is really a great way to broaden the audience that Corvette attracts, and it's important for the future of the Corvette and also the future of the National Corvette Museum and the enthusiast following that we hope to have many generations to come. So let's talk about the Z06. Of course, we're all excited about it. And actually, this was a magazine from back in a couple of years ago. So it's actually been rumored about for quite some time. It's nice to finally be able to talk about it. A little brief history of the Z06. A lot of you guys probably know this, but started in 1963. A special option package for those interested in racing. And it was just in '63, only 199 built. But in 2001, we had this fifth generation. We wanted to do high performance Corvette based on the hardtop body style. We brought that name back and made it a model, and it proved to be very popular. And we went into the sixth generation in 2006, expanding that to have its own 7-liter, 427, 505 horsepower engine. And we gave it aluminum frame and carbon fiber panels, so that pushed the technology further. But one thing we learned over the sixth generation was originally it started as kind of this bare bones, serious, very limited options. But over time, people love the Z06 so much. It's like, well, why can't I get the navigation system, the heated seats, all the leather interior options? And so we started expanding that further. In the seventh generation, we went to the supercharged 650 horsepower, but we also had coupe with removable roof panel, convertible models. We had both transmissions available for the 7th gen, really expanded Z06 further. So, and as we see, we're continuing that as well. So here's the new Z06. One of the things people, what's different? What's different about it? Well, this really has the most differentiation from the Stingray or the standard Corvette that we've ever had, because it has its own fenders, its own quarters, front and rear fascias, its own rocker, splitter, aerodynamics, spoiler. So it's really the most differentiated. The biggest thing you notice, of course, is the width, the wider wheels and tires. But this time they're also larger in diameter too. So we went up an inch, 20s in the front, 21s in the rear. And again, huge tires, 275 in the front, 345 in in the rear. 21 by 13 is the widest tires we've ever done on a Corvette. And of course the convertible, available both the coupe with the removable roof and the hardtop, retractable hardtop convertible. Some of the early performance numbers, this is with the Z07 performance package. You get 0 to 60, 2.6 seconds, quarter mile, 10.6, and incredible 1.22 Gs max lap. And then, a lot of the Corvette, and also, the Z06 has really always been our showcase, racing technology for the street. And we talked about this a little bit in our dinner yesterday, but the Z06 was really co-developed with the C8R race car. The engines have a lot of commonality, the body has a lot of commonality, and this has really been the best racing the street technology story we've had. Again, some highlights. Josh is going to go through this a little bit deeper, but some of the big highlights, of course, are the carbon aero package we have. You see the white car outside, or the chassis. It has the carbon wing, the ground effects, the dive planes. There's also underbody strengths. Of course, the engine we're going to get into. Anybody see the presentation on the engine yesterday, Jordan Lee and everything? That was a great deep dive into that. Flat plane crank, the quad center exhaust, which is unique to Z06. Unique wheels, we have both aluminum and carbon wheels for the first time. Unique tires, including these incredible Cup 2Rs. And then 2 brake systems, a standard brake system, which is a 6-piston front, 4-piston rear, and then the full, very large ceramic brake option. So I'm going to hand over to Josh and give you more engineering details. Sorry, the mics get fuzzy.
I've been watching people struggle with this little thing all weekend. It's down is up and up is down, and
Down is up.
All right, I'm going to give you some more details about the Z06, which a lot of us are excited about. Many of you want to know more about. For those that saw Jordan Lee's presentation yesterday and Nora Roper's about how we build the engine in the Performance Build Center, there is certainly a lot to talk about. The engine in itself could be a few-hour presentation. We say it shares a lot of the DNA of a small block. And I would counter that with, it shares bore centers, but maybe more importantly, it shares the team that currently works on the small block. Jordan Lee and his team of wizards helped develop this engine, but it is nothing like a small block. We knew when we were going to do the next generation Z06 that we wanted to go back to our naturally aspirated roots. There's a lot of these said for, a lot of purists pine for a naturally aspirated engine, but it had to make more power. And the only way for a naturally aspirated engine to make more power is to get more air through it, more air, more fuel, more power. To get more air through a naturally aspirated engine, you need to rev it, and rev it really high is what we're doing. It's the most powerful naturally aspirated engine ever, by a long ways. And so that book of work built in a lot of technology that Z06 owners are going to enjoy. You've heard us talk a lot about a flat plane crankshaft. What is a flat plane crankshaft? Well, the rod journals and the main journals all sit in a line, 180 degrees apart are the rod journals. A typical crankshaft in a small block or an underhead KMD has 90-degree journals. And so a couple of things this allows, but one of which is reduce counterweight mass. So the whole mass of a crankshaft is latent. That allows the engine to rev very quickly. Did anybody get to hear the car outside get zinged up a few times? You hear that sound, instantaneous engine speed? Well, a lot of that is due to that lightweight crank train, that lightweight inertia. And yesterday, a few of us were bragging about how much lighter it is than the LT4. It's got 20 more horsepower. To me, what's more incredible is it's only about 2 pounds heavier than the LT2. Yeah, it's got 2 more camshafts, great big cylinder heads, a whole other set of valves, all this structure to hold that block together. And we did all of that and, barely added 2 pounds of mass to it. It's got aluminum fasteners. I mentioned how light the crankshaft is. Even the camshafts are hollow. So everything about it was done in the mind of performance. I've talked a lot about the crankshaft and our reasons to make it lighter, but the other benefit of a flat plane crankshaft is the unique firing order. That's why the Z06 sounds different than the Stingray. You can do all the trigonometry and get out your protractor and stick your tongue out and try to figure out how to make a 90-degree crankshaft do a firing order in every other bank. And no matter what you do, at some point you have to share the firing order on one bank or another. So what that does is move air to the same side of the engine. You've got air competing to enter it and air competing to exit. And a flat plane crank, it fires every other side continuously. So that moving air through the engine, that's what really enables it. In fact, the LT6 has a higher than 100% volumetric efficiency, meaning that we're actually, through the inertia of the air itself moving through the engine, helping to pressurize the intake and get the most out of that flow at high speed. Harlan talked about how we share a lot of the engine components with the race car. When you look at the race car engine, it looks very different because of their, what seems ironic to me, race car has this big giant intake manifold and this little tiny restrictor inside it that the balance of performance requires them to use. But it's one reason why the street engine has more power. Underneath that, though, the block, the heads, the fuel system, there's many shared components, but I'm not just saying they're similar, I mean they're shared components. In fact, through the course of development of the Z06, we literally borrowed parts from each other, from the production team and the race team, to help develop the engine simultaneously. Nora touched on this yesterday in the Performance Build Center. She showed a couple of videos which were super interesting for those that got to see it. They don't do it justice. That Performance Build Center is a bona fide race shop. For those of us that have ever built their own engine, you hear the term balanced and blueprinted. Everything's measured and precisely assembled. It's all that and more in that shop. In fact, it's more than that because the tools they use are much higher tech than any torque wrench any of us can buy, any set of calipers to measure, any micrometers. It's top notch, it's state of the art. The process by which to measure the zero net lash valve stem caps to offer a valve train that has no hydraulics in it is really incredible. It gets fully assembled, the head gets fully assembled, it gets measured for the amount of lash and tracked in each measurement. We disassemble the head, then a robot goes based on those measurements and selects one of something like 33 shims, something like that, and picks the right one for each of those locations. The head gets reassembled, measured again. If there's anything wrong, it goes back through the process. And then when the head gets bolted to the block, we have to take the cams back off the head to bolt the head to the block. When it's reassembled, it gets measured one more time. In a high volume auto assembly plant, that is a big foul. Nobody wants to assemble and disassemble, it's super inefficient, but it's what is needed for a race engine, and that's exactly what the LT6 is. To go with that engine, we have the Z06 is custom launch control. So this offers the driver the ability not just to use the launch control that we provide, but based on track conditions, for example, if you take it to a drag strip, you can adjust the launch speed of the engine and slip of the rear tires. I would tell you that it's probably more juvenile fun than actual performance, but it's certainly a cool feature. To help cool off the LT6 engine, we've got a bunch of cooling capacity. The biggest of which is the center front radiator. So the Stingray's got the 2 corner radiators. The Z06 adds a center front radiator. We've also added another auxiliary radiator on the driver's side of the car. Of course, there's 4 fans at each corner of the car, but the front fans are increased capacity, overpowered by about 50%. For the track, those that live in a state that requires a front license plate, you can remove the license plate and bracket and get more airflow through the center radiator. This is some of the core team that works so hard on the exhaust system on the Z06. Alex McDonald, our vehicle performance manager there, he might have his ears plugged, but he's got a huge smile on his face. So he's telling me it's loud and it sounds really cool. The team spent a lot of time focused on the sound of the Z06, and that was one of the missions of the car from the very beginning. As we first got our integration vehicles out on the road, our early prototypes, a number of us would stand by and take turns getting in the car, driving by with the engine running at full fury and just giggle. And there was widespread agreement that we hit the mark as the car sounded from the outside. But when we got in the car, we realized a lot of that was taken away. And it's taken away for good reasons. There's a lot of acoustic treatments behind your head because engines make noises that we don't all want to hear. But unfortunately, that came with a little bit of penalty of some of the noises we did want to hear. And so a few folks went to work in a little bit of the Skunks Works lab to try to find a way to reflect some of that noise back to the driver. We had some very skilled technicians hand-building components that would back up the analysis work we often do that tells us where noise is coming from and going to. And ultimately ended up with the center exhaust that's about to go in production on the Z06. Besides the way it sounds now to the driver's ear, it's lighter, it's got some new technology. The valve, which we've had for a long time in the performance exhaust systems, is now variable, so it doesn't just open and close. We can tailor the way it opens to get some pops and burbles and more character into the exhaust system. It's also significantly lighter, so it was a good mass savings. Z06 suspension. Of course, a number of refinements to tailor the suspension really to the size of the tires that Harlan was talking about earlier and to extract the most capability out of the car. Z06 has stiffer springs. On paper, the ride frequencies, or what we call them, the ride rate of the car, is about 35% higher, which sounds like a lot. And might alarm some people. I've had a few people ask me, is it really hard to ride? And the answer is no. It's still every bit a grand touring machine. It's capable for long trips. The nature of the mid-engine architecture, the stiffness of the body structure, the position of the occupants right over the center of gravity helps an architecture extract the most out of high ride rates, high performance without punishing its occupants. So while it's a certainly capable car, it's not uncomfortable to drive. Those spring rates, because they are so high, when the suspension is unloaded, it actually unseats the spring. And so we had to add what we call helper springs that keep the spring tight to the seat when the car's in a rebound. So it gives you an idea of the amount of work done to help extract the performance of the suspension. Harlan touched on the brakes, so standard are very large, capable iron brake system, and of course the available J57 carbon ceramic brakes. It's the largest brake, as Harlan said, that we've ever done. 15.7 inches or so front brake. My first car had 14-inch wheels. So very, very capable brake system. And one thing we haven't mentioned on, there is a new caliper color for those that like orange. New exciting caliper color available on the J57. We've got some new wheels. A number of them are on display outside. These are fully forged wheels. Of course, wheel is a very important performance component, so we spend a lot of time making the wheel as efficient as possible. Kurt and his design team help work very collaboratively with our engineering team to optimize the wheel for lightweight and stiffness. And then the carbon fiber wheels, which a lot of people are talking about. So this is the largest carbon fiber wheel in terms of width ever put into production. The rear wheel was 13 inches wide, a foot and an inch wide. So just a massive tire footprint. These wheels save about 41 pounds of unsprung mass. Unsprung mass is critically important to any vehicle, but especially a sports car. It's what reduces the inertia of the tire and the suspension system when it's upset and keeps the tire planted to the ground. It's also rotational inertia. So I was talking about how Jordan and his team worked so hard to make the crank as lightweight as possible. Well, crank is rotational inertia and eventually gets to a wheel. So every component in that system needs to be as light as possible. In fact, we knew these were going to be high performance, but until we actually measured a significant lap time improvement, where we truly sold on the benefits of these wheels. And Harlan, I can tell you that you can just drive out of the parking lot and enter onto an on-ramp on the freeway, and you can immediately tell the difference just with the wheels. They are so different that we had to tailor the steering, tuning, and chassis controls calibration just because of the wheels. Tires, again, we worked with the scientists at Michelin, and I think Lee and Jeff might be here today doing another seminar. A lot of technology shared with the race team, certainly very capable tires for both summer and, of course, the ultra performance cup tire. We spent a bunch of time on aerodynamics on the Z06. This animation you're seeing is not the car about to fly out of the wind tunnel. It's sped up to show what's called ride mapping. So in real time, this would happen very slowly. But when we measure the aerodynamic performance of a sports car like the Corvette, and especially the Z06, we measure it at different ride heights because as you're exercising the car around the track, it's not staying at the same ride height. And the effects of ground effects, that's why they have the name, that's why we've got a very powerful front splitter on the car and some strakes underneath the car to help evacuate the air. Those change as the car gets closer to the ground. And so we measure that performance and tailor it so that at any given time the car's not being upset by the change in aero performance and is only being enhanced by it. This is a visualizer in our what we call computational fluid dynamics, but it's a way to measure aerodynamic performance outside of the tunnel. So we do our design work and tools like this with Kirk and his team, and then we go into the wind tunnel and validate that improvement. In standard configuration, so when you take delivery of your Z06, if you did not choose for the high wing or the Z07, you're going to get a very capable car. And it's tailorable, and I'll get into that in a second, but this is lower drag than the previous generation Z06. And when you add the parts that come with the car to increase the rear gurneys, we call them, that's on the rear spoiler, and then remove what are called stall gurneys in the front. Those are used to effectively depower the front splitter. So when you remove them, it makes it more powerful. The car's now making almost 365 pounds of downforce. So it's, in some ways, two cars in one. This is an animation that shows the effect on pressures as those components are removed. So when you see something light up blue, that's either pulling down or pushing down on the car. And you can see how it changes with those components. The optional aero package, the high wing and the dive planes add more downforce at 300 kph, that's our industry standard. So 186 miles an hour, they add more downforce than any Corvette we've ever done, and they do so in a much more efficient way than we've ever done before. There's been a lot of comments from folks that have seen the wing, especially for those that like high wings, about how cool it is. I will tell you, this wing is very different than the wing that's even available today on the Z51. This wing is all business. It provides, 734 pounds of downforce combined with all the other aero devices on the car. And if you figure about half of that is reacted by this rear wing, it gives you an idea of how much load is going through the wing. So this wing looks like it's mounted on the fascia, but it's going through the fascia. It transmits enough load that we have to reinforce underneath the wing attachment points with brackets and braces to get that load back down into the bumper. And you can see some of it on the cutaway car that's on display. All right, this is just a downforce comparison. It gives you an idea of how much more the Z06 is, and especially with the high wing. Harlan talked about how different the Z06 is in terms of its parts list than the Stingray or than any Corvette, any Z06 differentiation we've had before. I would tell you that it's even more so when you get a chance to drive the car. This is unlike any Stingray to Z06 or standard car to Z06 leap that we've ever done. So not just the stats, but the way the car feels and drives. We say in many ways it feels like it's a horse straining at the reins. It's super responsive. I spent a lot of time talking about the visceral sound quality that it provides. But eventually, when you guys get a chance to drive it, when we get pressed behind the wheel, we're pretty confident they're going to be amazed by the transformation within the same architecture that the Z06 provides. To get the most out of it, we do a bunch of track development testing. I won't go through all the tracks that we go to, but a lot of read on the internet throughout the course of development. You saw the Z06 out there with us doing our best to camouflage it. I'll also tell you that one of the big reasons we revealed last fall, and what gives some the perception that production is right around the corner, is because it's getting more and more difficult to hide cars in plain sight. Especially for us, because we can't drive cars around like this with camouflage on it. We have to validate all the aerodynamics I just spent time talking about, and there's really just no way to hide that. And so that was some of the reason for revealing what we did. So this is a video of the first test on a chassis dyno. I'm not going to talk about how nervous some of the folks were that were a part of this test, but I'll just say there was a fireman present. So you can see that was done way back in March of 2018. This is first drive-in neighbor, we call it. This is the scenario I was talking about earlier when we were standing by giggling as the car was driving by. It's more video on our Old Milford Road course. We do a lot of development trips. Again, these typically get some pretty broad exposure. Publicity on the internet. We do high altitude trips out west. We've got a member of the team that's a pretty capable photographer, so he's got some awesome pictures here. We go all the way up to nearly 12,000 feet. So we test in all conditions we can think of. Every one of these trips are very meaningful. It's a way for each of us to check in on our own progress, check each other's work, as we like to say, and obviously provide some important data when we get to calibrate the car. Here's some of us, again, on a ride trip. It's weird, you can always pick out somebody from these pictures. Maybe looks a little different than the rest of us. That is the Big Muskie Bucket, by the way. You can Google it, but you should check it out if you're ever in Southeast Ohio. This is some of us just a few months ago. In fact, the week before Barrett-Jackson, doing a final buy-off ride in Arizona. And so a great big team effort. You've heard a lot of us talk about how we're all a giant team. We all work together. We all back each other up. We all care about you. We want to make the best product we can for our very passionate customers. Many of us are customers ourselves, and we certainly share your passion. Another thing we do to bring out the car, really beat on not just the engine and transmission, but the entire car is a 24-hour track durability test. That may not sound that hard to do, but this is 24 hours of 10/10 driving. And we have some very, very capable drivers. I like to say we have the best in the auto industry. I put them up against anyone. This just gives you a few stats of how much time was spent. And this is one set of 24-hour validation. There's a number of attempts tried before this where we may find something and go back and fix it. So this is just one of many tests. That sticker on the quarter panel just looked like a white and orange kind of blur. Each one of those orange things is a hash mark, and there's 24 of those hash marks that we put on the car as we track its progress. I talked about the J57 Brakes. You can see how well used they are here, that transfer of energy. And that's a pictorial reason of why we put that ceramic coating on the inside of the carbon fiber wheel. All right. Harlan's going to give you the real exciting stuff.
Yeah, but wait, there's more.
It's not easy.
Maybe there's not more. Maybe that's it. Okay, there we go. Operator error. Anyway, I just want to talk a little about more. You've seen some of this on display, but let's not forget about the new 23 Stingray either. We have, one of the cool things, we have this new 20-spoke wheel design, another great wheel from our studio team, and it's available from the factory. We have the gloss black, we have the ultra bright machined, and we have the red stripe wheels, especially for the 70th anniversary, and we even have a tech bronze accessory. We have a new dark black exhaust tip option that's available, and that's actually on the carbon flash car outside. We have a new stealth aluminum trim, and what that basically does is, we have a lot of the bright aluminum in the car, but some people, maybe with the carbon fiber package or just in general for your personal taste, it's a little too bright, you kind of subduce that a little bit. And we have a new adrenaline red dipped interior. We have that torch red Stingray outside. And if you love red, that's going to test how much red you love, because that is a lot of red. And of course, the anniversary. Well, one thing I do want to point out on the Z06, Z06 does have some new specific interior components as well. With the 3LZ package, it comes with carbon fiber steering wheel, rim, and paddles. So it's a great steering wheel. And then we up the carbon fiber with what we call a level 2 package. And we have that on our few of our display cars outside, where you have the console and door panels have these large carbon fiber components to them. And again, if you love carbon fiber, Kirk always says, we haven't heard anybody say stop putting more carbon fiber in the cars yet, so we're just going to keep going. We even have, when you start the Z06, there's a specific welcome animation, specific to Z06. When you start the car, you'll see that in your cluster, which is kind of fun. It really highlights the engine, so Jordan will be proud of that, Jordan engine. And then, of course, 70th anniversary, the anniversary edition Corvettes, I guess you could go back to the 25th, have always been kind of a special package that we've done over the years. And this year's a little bit different in that we have really 2 exteriors that we've done. We have the pearl white tri-coat, which is the first time Corvette has ever had a tri-coat color. It's a white metallic, and of course carbon flash. It's a black metallic. And again, we really thought these colors really would highlight the interior. Now both of them are available with the stripes. So you have a satin matrix gray stripe for the pearl white and a satin black stripe for the carbon flash. Some people are saying, well, what if I don't like stripes? Well, you don't have, just don't get them. It's an option. It's really that simple. So here's here's some good images of, again, these cars are outside, but it's images of the pearl white version and the carbon flash Stingrays. And some of the little highlights here, I'll go through it. The wheels, of course, both the Stingray and Z06 versions have their own unique red stripe wheel design. Special badging with the 70th. Special wheel caps, a special fender badge, of course, steering wheel badge, sill plates. Now, every 23 Corvette, whether you get a 70th anniversary edition or not, we usually do something special. And so every 23 Corvette will get the special interior plaque that's on the center speaker with the 70th on it, and then the rear window has a glass etching with 70th anniversary on that. And the neat thing on the convertible, if you, even when the top's down, the little part of the glass that's up, it's there, and then when you see it in the rearview mirror, because it's a double reflection, it reads correctly for you. So we think of everything.
It's almost like
And then even from accessories included in the 70th anniversary package, one of the cool things is the special anniversary set of matching luggage. Because you have to have that. Why could you not have luggage? And here's the interior. Again, when you take a look at the cars outside, there's actually different color breakups. This is showing the GT2 seats. But the Comp Sport seat is actually kind of flipped, which is the ceramic white and which is the black on the leather. It's very striking. It has the red accent, stitching, red seat belts, and then there's a lot of suede components on the console as well. So it's really a kind of a centerpiece of this anniversary edition is the interior. Again, here's the Z06 versions, both in the white and the carbon flash. And I like it so much. You can see it again. But yeah, beautiful. 70th. So finally, at Barrett-Jackson, we really had a kind of a lot of fun in Arizona because, like Josh showed us, we did the ride, and then we had our museum board there, and then we also got to go to the Barrett-Jackson auction and see the first retail Z06 go for $3.6 million, but it benefits Operation Homefront, which helps military families, and all the money is going to them direct. So we really And then a little bit more recently, we had an auction in Palm Beach for the first convertible and sold for $1 million, and that also goes to another excellent cause. It's the Thurgood Marshall College Fund, which is very important as well. So we're proud of that. So I'd like to thank all of you for coming, and then there may be a question or two.
I've been watching, we didn't lose that video of you.
Everybody's still awake?
How much does it cost?
He's gonna have the mic, so who's start up front here? Let's do it front here.
Howdy. So, with almost half of the sales HTC, you need to show us a little bit of love. You need to come up with a way for us to show our engines off rather than what I did, which is magnetic, rather than what AMT did, which is clear, Lexan, or others, because your design team could come up with something really cool.
All right, so request is on a convertible, hardtop convertible, you'd like an easier way to show off the engine. And everybody else interested in that? So yes, everybody. Okay.
More than I thought.
Good input.
Okay.
Stay tuned.
We'll feed that
Next question.
I was just curious that on the spy shots, a lot of times you have a McLaren or a Ferrari amongst the groups when you go out in a group of Stingrays to test. Why would you have those other cars with you?
We use competitive vehicles to benchmark. That's what any manufacturer should do. The sports car industry is a super competitive marketplace. But we don't use any one car to benchmark the whole of Corvette. Certain cars have certain attributes, and so we will bring vehicles along with us. Lately, I would say it's gotten, we'll take them along because we feel sorry for them. Nobody's really Harlan will tell you there's more complaining when your rotation and the Ferrari comes up. But we do like to obviously stay abreast of what people are doing well, make sure we're continuing to do it better, and that's why we take competitive vehicles along.
On the C8 convertible, in the owner's manual, it says don't leave the top up, or don't leave the top down when you park it. Is that just for getting leaves in it, or people putting things in you wanted to, don't want them to, or is there a heat soak reason for leaving the top up when parked?
No, there's no issue really. It's more just to keep the car clean, and to be honest, it's probably a holdover from the owner's manual from the previous
Because it does
convertibles.
rain.
Were we worried about the cloth?
It does rain once in a while, yeah.
So you want to keep it closed, keep it safe, but there's no issue with
No,
if you leave it in.
I do.
Yeah, I do too.
Okay, this is probably a question I might not get the answer for today. However, I'm a Chevrolet retailer, and every day people call me, what's the price of the Z06 going to be, and when's it going to be available and to order in Global Connect?
Good job.
That's a good question.
Next question.
We have no announcement at this time, and we can't leak it because we don't know what it is. But we will have it, in all seriousness, we will have the pricing. Our goal is to have it all sent out well before official ordering goes in, so you don't have to order blind. That's our goal. But unfortunately, nothing to spill today. Thanks. Thank you for your question.
Harlan?
Who wants to ask it a different way?
Harlan? My question is, I like the styling of the car. My concern is the front end being so open and the radiators being exposed to rocks and things like that. Is there any consideration about better protecting the front end of the car and the radiators up front?
Yes. So I'm going to tell you what we've said before. The radiator is actually the condenser. It's not the radiator. Can get damaged with stone and impingement and debris while driving. A number of customers with Stingrays have bought a protection package that they've installed on their car to protect for it. It does not negatively, even though it seems implausible that those fins are bent over, it does not negatively affect the performance of the cooling system. However, we've recognized that a lot of people don't. So what if it doesn't affect the performance of the cooling system? It looks bad. I don't want those things all to be done. And so we've worked with a company and we'll soon be offering as an accessory on the Stingray, and I would expect we would look at it very closely for the Z06 as a way for customers to install some protection equipment. The attractive thing about the company that we're working with to do that is that it can be removed. We really spent a lot of time, you saw a big chunk of my presentation on optimizing the airflow around track cooling performance. So the last thing we want to do is restrict that cooling flow, but recognizing the need to preserve the appearance of the condensers and protect for that impingement. There's a solution out there that offers
let's talk electric Corvettes. Is there a plan to make it sound like a Corvette, and if so, how?
Is that Shannon LaMarche? Doesn't your husband work for GM? Oh, I know that. And that's why he gets to keep his job like we will.
Shannon, I know you and Jeff have a lovely home in Tennessee. I'll tell you, and then I get to move into your basement.
Oh, yeah, because we don't have a basement. You can move into our safe room. It's okay.
That's just a no.
Wait a minute.
Okay,
There is
I'll
no
try.
response. There is no
I'll try.
response.
So, I'm not going to get into what we may or may not do, obviously, but one thing that's always been true about Corvette, I know there's a lot of angst and worry about what our future might be, but we have never adopted technology that doesn't make the car better, that doesn't improve the driving experience, that doesn't wow all of you and propel the brand forward. And we are not going to change something to meet some deadline or implement technology that lessens the car or the driving experience. So that's the way we'll try to round it out, answer that question. And if we make a change like that, it will be every bit Corvette.
Yeah, and one thing too, obviously we can't talk too much other than what was kind of teased. But I will say, we read the forums and there's a lot of misunderstanding there. These things meant to be teased as additions to Corvette lineup, not as subtractions. So the V8s we all love and enjoy will be here for quite a while, many years to come.
So on the 70th anniversary edition, are you able to order the carbon fiber wheels with that? Or do you need to go with the black with the red stripe?
Yeah, so the 70th, good question. And questions on ordering the 70th anniversary. And I got a lot of these questions. That basically it does come with the, that's part of the package, is the red stripe wheels. You can order a Z07 package, or in a Stingray you can order with or without Z51. You can get the different chassis options. But the wheels, interior and exterior, and the two exterior colors are part of the package, the way it comes. The people, when I talked to somebody, they wanted the carbon wheel, you could order maybe those later on the counter or whatever, but it does only come with those wheels from the factory. That's part of the look, the design of it. Good question, thanks.
We've heard nothing about a Grand Sport.
Just to let you know.
That's right, you've heard nothing about the Grand
Next question.
Guys, I wanted to ask you about the engine build. You build your own engine. Really excited about that. And I know that the engines get dynoed right after it's built. Will there hopefully be an opportunity where you can build your own engine and then watch the car come down the line and maybe also have it delivered at the museum all on one trip?
Well, that would be great. That's the dream right there, to have everything. Well, we did have, actually, I think it was in 2018, early 2019, we had a little window. Again, it's always a lot, when things are going on at the factory, but we did have that option previously where you could see your, of course, build your engine and then see it go into the car. If you're willing to hang around Bowling Green for a few days, and there's a lot to do here, museum, of course, track. But anyway, there's a lot to do. So we did have that in the past. We haven't formalized that yet. We probably won't have the engine build right at the start of production. Gonna get that going first, but we are gonna bring that back. And the goal would be, like you're saying, to be able to, if people are willing to do that, I think it would be great. Just build your engine and see it go into the car. We've offered that previously, and hopefully we can do that in the future. So great.
Josh, you got the new GT3 coming. Will you be working with Callaway Competition? They've won multiple championships in that category.
Your question was whether or not we would be running the Callaway Championship? Yeah. We don't have a plan at the moment to do anything beyond what's been announced with Corvette Racing in that effort. That we never say never about any collaboration or future potential, but at the moment there's no plan to do that.
Does the Z06 engine mount use magnetic
technology to help quell the vibrations in there with a flat plane crank?
The Corvette, the Stingray and the Z06, the question was, do they use MR, magnetorheological engine mounts, not dampers, which of course we do. The answer is no. We do not. There was some confusion over looking at the cutaway chassis that there might be a wire going to the mount. There's no wire going to the mount. We have investigated it, we've talked about it. It's not a new idea, but it's not provided, at least in our applications and our mount system, meaningful benefits. So they are more standard in construction.
It seemed like for years and years, what the car mag critics, whether it was a Corvette or Cadillac or any GM car, they'd say, oh yeah, it's a great car, but the interior isn't world quality. I love looking in the new Corvettes and Cadillacs now. Have you finally been able to silence the car mag critics as far as our interiors? Are they now saying they're world class?
Yeah, that's a great point. Absolutely. I think our interiors are world class and the media is picking up on it. We won, like I talked about awards, we can go to all of them. When the car came out, won the interior of the year. And a big part of Corvette, you know, the exterior is so exciting. Now the interior is just as exciting. And we talked about this a little bit yesterday in our design presentation, but even though the Corvette may not be as costly as some of these competitors, we didn't skip on any of the materials. All the materials in the Corvette, first class. The idea was everything you touch, you know, is real materials, leather, aluminum, or wrapped material. So I think, yes, we've been getting a lot of positives on the interior overall, and even the reviews coming in from overseas, in the UK and Europe, have been very positive about the car, and really, it's really blowing their mind. You really don't know how to handle how we did this car so well.
It's driving them crazy because there's nothing to complain about.
So the thing I've noticed is that now they can't complain about the interior. They'll say it's about the feel, the subjective feel. You can't measure a car like this with metrics or science or anything like that. So you guys mentioned how with the carbon fiber wheels you tune the steering a little bit differently. Usually I'll keep one set of track tires, one set of road tires, and I don't want to buy carbon fiber wheels for both. How does that play into it? Can you adjust that calibration? Would I need to take to the dealer every time to get that adjusted? Or any comments on that?
It's technically possible to change the calibration, but you would not be able to go to a dealer to get that done. Anytime your vehicle enters one of our dealerships, anything done to it is done so by what's tracked on the vehicle identification number and the way it was originally equipped. So I wouldn't even try to venture there if you're going to change your carbon fiber wheels. What I would say is that you would probably be able to live with the car if it was a wheel you were going to use less often. It's just not bringing the most performance out of the car that we've obviously done when we designed it with a carbon fiber wheel and calibrated around it.
Awesome presentation. No one else has asked, so I'll ask. When do you expect production to begin with the Z06?
Well, we've been pretty consistent in saying summer. To September 21st, technically.
It's not summer yet, and the solstice is even further out.
From the beginning, we've always said summer, but stay tuned.
The most important thing for you all to remember, like we often say, is we are going to start production when the car is ready. And when we are very sure about our quality and all of our suppliers' quality, and that your experience is going to be the best it can be. And so even when we start production, I would caution people to remember that we are going to do it in a measured way, and we're going to make sure they're right, and we're going to build as many great Z06s as we can.
Yeah, and a lot of it too is, as you can understand with what's going on all over the industry, is getting the suppliers up to speed. A lot of our supply with carbon fiber and things like that. It's the most, we're being not just a boutique car, a car that we build. We have to get a lot of them up to speed. So of course we can build, people are like, and I'd be the same way, I'm like, the car's right there, I just want to buy it now, here it is, and we could build a few right now, but a lot of the time is getting all those suppliers up to speed so we can get the factory up to volume and be able to satisfy all the orders we're anticipating.
And that's why I mentioned before about the reveal and our need to reveal earlier. It gives the impression that the car is closer than it really is. So be a little patient and we'll have an awesome Z06 as soon as we can.
Good day, gents. With everyone loving to show off their engine bays and different things like that, is there any inclination to address the issue of when people clean their cars, the water goes inside the vents and creates water spots, and you guys leaving that kind of to the aftermarket people to kind of help you guys out with that?
We're going to leave that to the aftermarket. You're talking about, I assume the vents that you can buy, or the blockers that you can buy that close out the vents, so you don't have to spend a bunch of time detailing the engine compartment?
Correct.
Yeah, those vents are critically important, so we need to leave them open. We certainly don't want anything that stays secured to the car, but yeah, Corvette opens a world of doors for the aftermarket. They should thank us.
Okay, I'm told this is the grand finale question, so I hope it's really great. No pressure.
No pressure.
What's the price?
Maybe an easy one, Harlan. In your 70th anniversary interior, the examples you have out there are in leather. Does that interior also have the capability of being in suede where your seating surface is?
Well, it is. I think the question is it leather and suede, or?
This part of the seat that you sit on. My Grand Sport has like suede seating surface. Is that going to be available on the 70th anniversary seats?
Okay, no, I get it. Good question. No, again, there's really two ways there's a few options. There's two ways that can come or represent the two cars we have. There's the pearl white car has the GT2 seat, carbon flash has the competition seats, which have the flip, but they both have, to your question, they both have the leather inserts, but there are suede accents to the rest of the interior, but the seats themselves are only leather. You can order the carbon fiber interior options we have, or even that stealth option, but basically as far as the rest of the materials, it comes as you're seeing it outside. Good one. Good question. Thank you. All right.
Thank you all.
I thank Nancy for running around with the mic. Yeah. She runs around really fast, so.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Thank you, Harlan. Thank you, Josh.
Thank all of you guys for coming, and we'll hang around. We'll be here, or be outside back by the cars. And I'm sure there may be another question or two you might want to ask.